Welcome to Leadership Matters, where we talk about the principles of leadership and learn the keys to being a great leader. In this episode, we hear of how Pastor Kenneth works with leaders who may be a little bit rough around the edges and how he divides his time to take care of so many leaders in his organization.
Thoughts around passing on, imitate me as I imitate Christ, and rough around the edges, which everybody can have some picture in mind right now. Pastor, two thoughts along these lines. How do you polish these rough edges? Of course, yeah. And also, I guess, probably for later, how are we doing as a church polishing the next line of leaders? Are we passing on well enough? To that second point, I just want to say that Elder Rose, I think every SALT service now is doing really well, as you kind of re-emphasize the visa. It's just basically, I hear essentially what Pastor's been saying in a different voice, and it's coming out very clearly with great examples. So I think it's a great example of passing it on. So I'm wondering, Pastor, how have you been polishing our rough edges? And how do you think we have been doing with our leaders that we're trying to raise?
Wow. Okay. So let's go back to the example of Kenya. I used to spend every Thursday night with Kenya for a whole year at least. And we would have meals and we would talk, we would dream, we would, just get to know each other a little bit more. And there were times when it was easy because Kenya was just downloading. And when a person downloads, you don't really see any rough edges. You just see a sponge.
Yeah.
But then there were times, and thank God it's rare, not so many. Maybe 10%, 15% at the most, where I actually had to confront, where I actually had to pull him aside, where I actually had to call, text, do whatever it took to say, Kenya, that was a wrong call. That could have been done better. That could have been said better. But because I have a relationship with him, a trust, and he knows I'm for him. He knows that I have his best in mind. And I also don't raise my voice. I don't think I've ever raised my voice at Kenya. I don't need to. And I think when you have authority, you don't really have to raise your voice. True authority doesn't need voice to be raised. Voice raised is probably because you're frustrated and the other guy is not listening to you, so you raise your voice. But I don't think I've ever had to. Stern maybe, and Kenya, oh man, that was really a wrong call. Kenya has once or twice only been sad with what I've said, and he took some days to mull over it, like, pastor's unfair, And I think once or twice Shirley told me that that's what Kenya felt. And so Kenya told Shirley whatever he told her, and she would say, you better go and talk to pastor about it, And so thank God for, wives and, spouses like that. But most of the time, Kenya has actually been able to chew on it, I would say, in God's presence, and come out stronger. And then there are some days where he will come complaining to me about some things, how people may be treating him, or how things are not working even though he's trying. Those are rough edges, but those are not like his mistakes. It's more of like how he can do better. Maybe be more patient, not use these words, use other words. Again, those words that I say change is not bad words, but he could, make it nicer, sweeter, So again, it's not like rebuking. It's more like saying, Kenneth, there's a better way. And he's always nodding his head, okay. And then he will laugh. He say, yo, Pastor, I wish I got your skill, of PR and stuff like that. And sometimes he will write something, like a letter, and then he will send to me first. And then I will change some words, because some words are just very abrupt, very strong. But, it's not wrong. It's just, he's trying to get the job done. I say, and so I'll change one or two sentences, 2 or 3 words. He says, Pastor, I really am very thankful that I have an editor on hand. I said, no, your letter is not wrong. So you get what I'm saying, that there are a variety of ways, a variety of needs. Some ages are rougher than others. Some are just okay already, but can be improved on. So what has happened is that the same thing I'm explaining about Kenya, I've done with others. Some have responded very well, very quickly. Some have taken time. Some have reacted. I had one guy who reacted and didn't want to speak to me for 3 years. But on my end is like this. Some people even said, cut him off. I said, no, I don't think God has called us to do that. And I will pray. I will continue to believe. Especially, when I check my own heart and know that I'm not at a place where I'm wrong and I have to go and make amends. I actually said sorry to this person, and this person kind of like, yeah, okay, and then kind of like brush it aside. But he had to go through his own journey. And I felt like the father who was waiting for the prodigal son, and when he saw his son, he ran to him. And that's what happened, because this happened about 2.5, 3 years ago. And he came back to me, like the prodigal son story. And he said to me, I don't even know why I'm angry with you. I can't explain it. But I'm so sorry. I said, well, I'm sorry too. And we hugged, and today we are back to that relationship. Some sons take it well. Some sons don't take it well. Some sons don't take it well but still come back, because at the end of the day, you believe and you trust God and His timing, and you keep praying for them and believing that they will come back. Again, when I'm saying this, I'm not perfect, and I too sometimes have got to make my own calls of whether I should, go and reach out to this guy, whether I should go and say sorry again if I have to, or whatever it is. I'm not perfect, and I'm still learning to be better myself, even as a leader. But I think to finish off your question is that you need time with people. You can't rush it. Everyone is like a diamond or a treasure taken out from the rough. And sometimes the first thing we see is dirt. We just got to kind of like brush it away, blow it away, and start to, as you used the word earlier, polish it. But when you're polishing it, it's not easy, not just for you, but for the person. So it's going to take patience, time. But when there's a willing party, both sides, a willing giver and a willing receiver, it will always augur well. You wish that people were actually real diamonds, because diamonds don't speak back. Diamonds don't fight back. Diamonds don't say, what are you doing, So you wish, but actually they are more precious than diamonds, but they move, they rebel. But I thank God that many of our leaders brought to us from God, by God, to Acts Church has been leaders, or should I say have been leaders, that actually want to become a better version of themselves. And many of them do willingly come under discipleship and leadership. And many do take what their leaders have to say. And some don't. I guess, again, we have to exercise patience and all that. And if they still don't, after that, then everybody has a choice. But I think it's important to recognize the value of every person that God brings to us, and to invest, because I think there's no greater joy than to see that diamond in the rough become what it was meant to be, shining for the glory of God. And sometimes you sit back. There's not a lot of money to talk about though when you're doing this. Sometimes not at all. But the value and the reward is in seeing that final product. And even when you say final product, it's not really even the final product until Jesus comes back. But the product compared to when you first found it, is now actually not just being a product, but looking for other products. Because we don't wait until we are perfect before we can shine another person or polish another person. It's all a journey. If I know 10, I can help the one with 9. If you know 9, you can help the one with 8. It just keeps going like that. So, and I must say, just looking around me in X Church now and in AYA, that my leaders have been doing a good job. I really have no complaints. Jason. Some people have complaints because they look at 1. They look at 2. Out of 250 leaders, you look at 1, look at 2. Even if you look at 5, our percentage of success is amazing. Wow. And so I have nothing to complain about. I am so thankful that what has started, has continued. And I think our leaders are looking for the same characteristics in people. And they are also spending a lot of their precious time doing to others what they have also been recipients of.
Amen.
Yeah.
I have a thought in line with that. And so it's about investment into people's lives, and that equals time.
Oh, yeah.
And often time is our most precious commodity.
Double underlined over here.
Time and just being present, our emotions there. And so I kind of like what, the picture I have in mind is parenting, right?
Yes.
And then you have many children, and having 2 just girls of my own, I recognize that they're both so different, and I cannot treat them the way they are, And so I think there has to be, I'm sure, wisdom from God to know how to deal with each one where they are at. But also on the practical side of it, how do you parent so many? How do you divide your time? Because I am struggling with, do I focus on, these leaders that I want to raise, who needs me more in this time? And if you could help us with some thoughts, Pastor.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure, Rose. Again, let me just explain very clearly that I haven't done this perfectly. But if at all, I was just thinking about the Butterfly Kisses song the other day, where the father was singing that there's a song go like, I've done many things wrong, but I must have done something right.
Yes.
So I would like to actually repeat that for myself. I've done many things wrong, but just looking at the church today, I must have done something right. So hopefully it's because what I've been able to rub off on some have rubbed off on many. Okay, that's the first thought. But I still have a responsibility there's at least 12 men under me, 12 women under my wife, Pastor Sandra. But then we've taken on another 12. So there's a huddle 1 plus. So at least 24 guys under me and at least 24 ladies under Pastor Sandra. And then sometimes also there are others who God will tell me, I want you to sow into that person's life. So one of the things that really, really helped me is that because it's God's church and it's because it's also God's children, God's people, God's leaders, and these leaders need to be at a healthy place to make sure that God's church and God's house is in a healthy place. There are too many, of course, to spend all your time with. So God makes sure that to have a healthy church is to have healthy leaders, and to have healthy leaders means that you need to invest in them at the right place at the right time. He will make sure that He puts them, their faces, their names into my mind and my heart at the right time, at the right place. So some people might say, wouldn't set schedule help? better? Yes and no. Yes, because, okay, it's a Rose on Monday, Monday morning, not just Monday. Monday morning is Shirley on Monday afternoon. It's Jason Kong on Tuesday night. It can help, but maybe not also because one, I don't think there's enough time in a day or a week or a month to do that. That's number one. Number two is that I might set it with Jason Kong on Tuesday night. Actually, he needed me more on Monday morning.
Right.
So that's the problem with setting it, especially when you have many children. If you have two, it's okay. Set it all you want. Because your child can have 3 times your time in a week, 4 times. But for your children who can only have once a month with you, you want to be there for that exact moment he needs you or she needs you. This has got to be the work of the Holy Spirit. It can't really be you. But thank God, He is the Lord of this church. He is the Lord of the leaders, and He knows what your leaders are going through. So I can tell you, even this last 2 weeks, I had people in my mind. Sorry, my English. I had people in my mind. And the leaders would just come to me. Sometimes, I don't know, I'm a bit thick-headed. Sometimes I go like, hey, I got this guy in my mind on Monday, but I only call him on Thursday, And I'm going to myself, hey, why are you so slow, Kenneth? Don't you remember that's how God leads you to lead this church? And I tell you, there's nothing like the right word in the right time, in the right season. Nothing like it. Sometimes your son might not even need your help for 3 months. Sometimes your daughter might go like, hey, I'm okay, Dad, really, really okay. I'm living my life. But maybe someone else needs you.
That's right.
Another daughter needs you, another son needs you, or another friend needs you, or your neighbor needs you. So to be sensitive, because God is the one that gave you those children. God is the one that gave you those leaders. God is the one that loves His church and loves them so much. He loves them more than you can ever love them yourself. He loves the church. Zeal for your house has consumed me, the Bible says. And so I say, Lord, all I need to do therefore is to be sensitive to you. Not just sensitive, but obedient. Because sometimes you can be sensitive. Yeah, I saw Jason's face in my mind, but then I only call him 1 month later. It'll be like, and then later on, you know what Jason would say? Actually, Pastor, about a month ago. And how many times it's happened to us? We call somebody, he said, I thought about you last Friday, Oh, last Friday? Yeah, last Friday is when I needed you actually. and you go like, oh my word, I should be not just sensitive, I should be obedient. Because again, it's being there at the right time, the right place, with the right word, right season. And I tell you what, that person can take that and run with it. Like how Elijah, he was running away from Jezebel and the angel came and said, get up, eat. And then he fell asleep again, get up, eat. And it was on that strength, the strength of just that he survived for 40 days and 40 nights. And sometimes just that, the angel comes just at the right time, and we are also like angels to our leaders, coming at the right time, giving the right food, the right drink, and they can last with just that for the next. You don't have to be with them for 40 days, but they will go far. And where did Elijah actually arrive? He arrived at the mountain of God. So sometimes you give them enough so that they can get to God. Because at the end of the day, that's where their real sustenance come from, So I use that really as my main go-to and my main pointer and my main alarm bell. It rings in me and I go like, okay, I cannot neglect this. Now, again, I'm not perfect in this. Sometimes I do like, I just thought about him, but maybe it's just I don't think God just puts a thought in your mind and go like, you're just thinking about him and actually he doesn't need you, And sometimes maybe also, and God is so clever, I've seen his wisdom at work. Sometimes he knows already that we will take 1 week to call the person. And so he tells you this 1 week before. He does, he does. And that is the manifold wisdom of God. Really, really, really. Because he knows you also. He knows me. He says, I know that when I tell Kenneth on Thursday, he only call 2 weeks from now. This is a good God that we serve. And because he knows everything, He's very kind to us also. Otherwise, I tell you, there's some mistakes we're going to make. We're going to knock our head on the wall, going like, why did I call him last week? Why did I call, and we're not going to forgive ourselves because that person really needed us last week. But, just to say that, be sensitive, be obedient, but also don't knock yourself or don't knock your head on the wall too much because God is still in control. And I rather us be sensitive and be obedient, but also, if the thought comes to you again a week later, please don't delay. That would be my third point. Don't delay. Just get on with it. And
I think also that's because sometimes as leaders we think about the people that we're leading. It can get very stressful and with the limited time and resources. But this thought really helped, Pastor, that it's really pray, listen, obey. And I was just looking at that book over there, Pastor, one of the books that you wrote, the quotes. It says that the best investment you can make for tomorrow's future is to invest in today's few. Today, and you just need to think about today and few that is today. That is manageable, that is doable. I mean, many times when I feel overwhelmed with the responsibility and the thought of it, and the people that we need to reach, the people we need to save, the people we need to disciple, and all we need is to think about this, that you have taught us, Pastor, that just think about today, few.
It's definitely not an easy task, as we've heard of the challenges to guide and lead other leaders, especially if you have so many needing your time. What are some tips that you've learned about dividing your time and attention when leading or parenting multiple individuals? We hope you've managed to capture some tips which will be helpful for you. Stay tuned for the next episode of Leadership Matters. Until then, God bless.